Hey everybody, welcome back. Let's have a talk. It's 2025 and the American dream just isn't for normal people anymore. I don't think that would surprise anyone at this point, knowing how hard it is to do the most simplest things that used to be a prerequisite for attaining the American dream. Getting a career, getting a good education without diving into debt, buying a home, starting a family. These are things that have become so beyond the reach of normal people that the American dream just isn't for normal people. As I said, we're on this road trip and we've been in Hilton Head, South Carolina for a few days now. This place is filled with people who have immense wealth. There's homes here, the average home here is $800,000. But I mean, you see $18-20 million homes. And who owns these? Who can afford these? And you go around here, the people that you see, they don't seem like they have any kind of real troubles, no stresses on their mind. And what an amazing life that must be to live. You know, everyone has multiple kids. They're dressed really nice. They have nice cars. There's no crime here. The businesses are all thriving. You know, everyone has money to spend. So of course it would be. You know, this small place is a place where the American dream lives, but who's it for? It's not for me. It's probably not for you. It's for a very few people, but because it's one island and because it's a community of wealthy people, that kind of contentment and that kind of attainability seems attainable to most people. You know, you can see why when we talk about wealth disparity and how you hear some people say, well, you know, you just got to work harder. When you're in a place like this, where you're not around normal people, they serve your food, they make your food, they clean your hotels, they clean your houses. You know, these are the normal people. These are the people who live on the average wage in America, albeit probably higher here because it is an expensive place. But those people are unseen here. They're not acknowledged. They're not recognized. They're just the person who put something in my hand. That's how it's seen. And it's gross. And if this is what the American dream is now, I don't think it's something that I actually want. That's why I say we should always be careful with putting so much trust into the hands of the wealthiest people in America, because they come from communities like this. Communities that are completely detached from the normal life that normal average Americans live. They have a different concept of the country itself because they live in these isolated, safe, comfortable, wealthy bubbles. Like I said, the same stressors that we experience on day-to-day life just aren't in these people's lives. And what an amazing life to live. What an amazing way to be free of such problems, to have the anchor of peril as we navigate through this expensive world cut free from your ship, because that anchor is generally fixed to the ship of everyone that I know. And that's why most people feel stuck in where they're at. Life in America is a perilous life. Although it seems comfortable to a lot of people on the outside, it is perilous nonetheless. Just trying to keep up with expenses, just trying to keep up with life, just trying to not be homeless is enough to send most people into a constant state of anxiety. It's a fact, and everyone has to live with it. Barring 5 or 10% of the country, that's 90%. And I think that there should be more weight given to the lives of 90% of humanity instead of bending all of our national interest, our social interest, to the considerations of 5 or 10%. Because I know in this country we get so wrapped up in the demographic, we get so wrapped up in race, we get so wrapped up in gender, but truly what it's coming down to in this century, as it has in the past, is one of wealth disparity. And we've seen such wealth disparity grow over the past 20 years especially, that it just feels like there's no place here for us anymore. That American dream is not here anymore. It's not for you. It's not for me. At least not here. Like I said, it still can be had in other places of the world. And maybe that's just the only option that we have left. Maybe the answer isn't to spend 20, 30, 40 years grinding away and trying to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps to get to the point where you're making $1 million a year. This is an illusion. This is a carrot that is put in front of you to keep you working, but is a carrot that you're not meant to have. This is reality. And reality is cold and it's brutal, and reality doesn't dream. Reality only has nightmares now. So, is this a beautiful place? Yes. Why did I come here if I don't feel like I would belong here? Well, I went to boot camp right across the water, and I've been here before when we were on our way to Mexico to get cancer treatments for my dog. This is one of the last places that we stayed, and he was able to run around on the beach, and it was a really good memory for me. And we're in a much better position than most people in the United States, I'd say. But at the same time, this place feels beyond me. I mean, most of the people who work here don't actually live here. Most of the people who work here either have super long commutes onto the island, or they just live at one of these hotels because it's cheaper to pay a monthly rate than it is to pay $3,000 or $4,000 for a studio apartment here. The purpose of most Americans now is to provide service for those who can actually attain the American dream. The purpose of Americans is to serve the wealthy at this point. Create services that make their lives easier so they can live that life anchor-free. Well, we can never leave the dock. Is it sad? Is it bleak? Yes, but I mean, it's an inevitability of capitalism, I guess. This is what I keep being told. I think it's just something that human nature has built in it, which is greed. Is just destined to be there and destined to have a serious effect on people's lives as it works its way through generations in the same society. But what I can say is that none of this is easy, and it's not going to be easy. Either way, and this is why I say it is possible to get something like the American dream. It's just not going to be here. Check the comments in this video or many of the videos that I have, and you'll see the people having amazing lives in other countries, just not America. People that struggled so hard to make it in America, thriving in other countries, living a life they didn't think that they could. And a lot of people think that by moving to another country, that means moving to some third world where you're taking advantage of the local economy, and you're creating an underclass of people who can't afford to live there by pushing up rents, yada yada yada. This is true in some places, but normally this is more true in other first world countries. Of course, like Portugal, Greece, which I know the Greek people are like, we're not first world anymore. You are. Spain is a big one. But it's happening everywhere. It's even happening in America in some parts. Look at some places in California. You'll go there and you'll rarely see Americans because Americans can't afford to live in many of the places near the coast. So they're bought up by foreigners. And I guess it's a strange way, but it is kind of an ethnic cleansing of Americans from their own soil. And some people will see justification in that, I'm sure. But you can still go to places and live great lives and have that dream. I'm so excited to get out of this country. I count down the days as loosely as I know when that timeline is. I know that at some point we will be going. And the farther this channel goes, the faster we get to that destination, and hopefully back to Greece, because by God, my heart is still there. But that doesn't mean that that's what you need to do. You need to find your American dream anywhere that you can. If you can find it in America, that's great. If you can find it in Canada, that's great. Mexico, Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, Colombia, Thailand, Philippines, Japan, China, some people in Russia. And of course, if you live in Scandinavia, it's probably one of the best places on the planet as far as standard of living. But I have a neurovascular disease, and it makes it very hard for me to live in very cold climates. So unless I come into some vast amount of wealth that allows me to summer in Scandinavia and then live in the Mediterranean, I have to live somewhere hot all the time. So it is a shame, but it's still out there. And you can't let your connections to the homeland define where you can stay, define the landscape in which you can make your American dream happen. You can make it anywhere. Is it dead in 2025? For many people in America, yes, it is. But for those many people who are locked out or priced out of the American dream in America, it is still possible to get it in many other places on the planet. You just have to look. You just have to take the risk and commit to making the change. Really, it's completely possible. And like I said, just look in the comments. And if you've already done that, if you have fulfilled that kind of dream in another country, go ahead and put it in the comments so people can be inspired by it, because it's inspiration that leads us to actually take these steps. It's very hard for people to just do it on their own. And that's why I always say community is so important, because it's community that drives us to make the change. Community and necessity that drives us to make the changes that we need to make in life. Because we can't trust the government to do these things for us, because the government seems to only want to take from us. We can't trust our jobs to get us to where we want to go, because the pay that they're giving us doesn't match inflation and never will. The destiny for people in America, for normal people in America, is to languish in a kind of poverty that keeps them dependent either on the state or on the same system that drives them to work 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, while at the same time gutting their benefits that will provide some kind of stability to them when they become elderly or infirm, and making it near impossible for people to actually have families, have homes, have food, have life here in America. Go find your American dream. If you're still here at this point, like and subscribe. We want to thank everybody for the support as always. Think about becoming a member. But it's been an interesting trip here to a place that is as beautiful as Hilton Head, South Carolina. And as a bit of an introspective person, it does force me to think about my place, my family's place in the world, especially juxtaposed to such wealth. It's an interesting place to be, for sure. But again, thank you for the support as always, and I hope you guys have a good one. Take care.